Greetings. My name is Dr. John Taylor Kent. We know that when we start out, we always want to tell people about our credentials. Well, I'm a retired psychologist, and if you want to know anything about my expertise, my experience in psychology, my development as a psychologist, you can go to my website, drkentshow.com, and you can learn all about me there. I think what's most important to tell you is that the last year I worked as a psychologist was in 2006. The reasons for that are kind of profound. I actually had a lot of trouble with my board, the Arizona Board of Psychologist Examiners, and they targeted me. Whenever a psychologist board discovers that you're a conservative, they go after you and they want to destroy you. They don't just want to take your license, they want to do what they can do to harm you. They're very mean, very vicious, and extremely mentally ill. Believe me, I've been before them quite a bit. I think I had 5 complaints in a period of 18 months, and I finally successfully retired my license. I've got a lot to tell you, but probably the most important thing is that we've got a new Bible. And in 2015, the proper name version of the King James Bible was published. It's the best Bible in the English language to date. I'm proud to represent it. I'm proud to be able to bring it. If you want to help my channel and help me out, as you can see, it doesn't even come in the frame here. I'm just getting used to using this new camera and the new headset. As you can see, my digs are rather humble, and I want to sell 1 million Bibles. Tell you straight out, that's what I want to do. Think I can do it? This is definitely the Bible to have. It's probably it improves on the original King James so much that it lends to phenomenal understanding. You're really going to understand this Bible much better than the King James Bible. I know the publisher, and they're being very nice to me on this. He's being very generous. If you go to my blog, which is givingpsychologyaway.com, and you'll see 2 tabs. One says Buy the Best Bible Available, and the other one says Buy My Bible. Either tab will get you there, and if you look at the blog, you can read a little bit about the Bible there, and you can read quite a bit about it on a post that I put up. I feel rather proud to be able to be the one to introduce this Bible to you, because my distant relative oversaw the writing and production of the 1611 King James Bible. He was sired by a Kent. I'm looking into which Kent it was. I don't know the gentleman's first name. However, what I do know is that he could not take the name of Kent because he might have been discovered, and it was very important that he remain a mystery to people, anonymous, because had he been discovered, the Queen of England probably would have been beheaded. Queen Elizabeth was his mother, and had she had a child out of wedlock, they would have executed her for sure. But she had 2 boys, and I believe the oldest was Sir Francis Bacon. Sir Francis Bacon also wrote the Shakespearean plays. He's the author of the Shakespearean plays. If you look at my blog, you can read an entry on that as well. But I want you to go and buy this Bible. It's really cheap. It was the list price is $70. I think he put it on sale at for my people. You're going to get it for $50. Then he dropped it down another $5. So he's motivated to sell it, and I'm motivated to sell it. This is a large print. This is a 14-point print. Very large. I can read it without reading glasses. Yeah, it's a little difficult, but I can read it without reading glasses, even in the dim light of laying down in my bed. It shows really well. The footnotes are minimal cross-references. The introductions for the chapters and the books and the sections are just wonderful. It's an extremely good Bible. We've got a lot to cover, and that's what we're going to talk about in this channel. We're going to talk about the restoration of the American family, our republic, and we're going to talk about the wisdom that is in the Bible. We're going to read it together. I'm going to help you as much as I can so you can understand what I understand. And I've been, in 2006 was the last year I practiced as a psychologist. I believe that was the year I started to read the Bible. It might have been the next year, but those days are kind of hazy for me. Because of the pressure that the Board of Psychologist Examiners put me under, and the people at the Arizona Department of Corrections at which I was employed, and the woman I tried to marry. Technically, I've never been married, got an annulment, so that one has been annulled. She put a lot of pressure on me, along with one of her ex-husbands. That's one of the reasons why I sought the annulment. I thought I was husband number 3. Turned out I was number 6. It's kind of a ridiculous thing. Anyway, to get back at it, I also had some health problems, and I had a physician that discontinued a medicine in an improper fashion. And there was a BOMEX, Arizona Board of Medical Examiners, investigation into it, and she was found to have improperly discontinued bromocriptine. It caused me a lot of damage. It resulted in me having a stroke. And then shortly after that, I received an order of protection by a former female friend to whom my wife at the time went to for shelter when she left me. She had the audacity to take out an unnecessary instrument. I had an extreme headache that day. That was my second stroke. As a result of both of those strokes, my short-term working memory was impaired. I was humbled. I needed humbling. I'm just going to fess up. I had read every book on the shelves of my library, and even the references that those guided me to, except for one, and you can imagine the only book I'd never read was the Bible. And I sat there flabbergasted, panicking, thinking, if this is the book of all knowledge, and I'm having trouble with my short-term working memory, how am I going to remember it? So that was my dilemma. Well, I sat on my butt, had a nice reading chair with a reading desk and beautiful windows in my living room, natural skylight, and I read the Bible. And I started out with an NIV, a New International Version, study Bible published in 1983. You may say that's not a very good Bible, and I will tell you it is an excellent Bible. There are some problems with it, primarily because the committee members, let's just say they were of different persuasions. They weren't exactly conservatives. They were pretty much liberals. And there were there's a lot of agenda stuff in the study notes, the footnotes. They were corrupted. But the translation itself was marvelous. One of the things I learned from it is that throughout the NIV, in particular, it says love, truth, and justice. It doesn't say love, justice, and truth. It's always love truth first, then justice. And that's because in order for there to be justice, you have to know the truth. And I have to tell you, almost none of us knows the truth in the United States of America today. So we've been severely misled. And for those of you who say that our nation isn't in the Bible, you're wrong. We're in Genesis, and we're throughout the whole doggone book. I'm also going to tell you that we're mentioned in there very directly in Genesis towards the end of it. Our tribe, if you will, was headed by Manasseh. And if you look up Manasseh and read some of the stories about him, he was a powerful dude. Very powerful. He probably was the only man equal in power to Judah. His uncle, who became his brother through adoption because Israel adopted Manasseh and Ephraim. We're going to cover the Bible because you don't know who you are. And what I mean by this is we are the victims of the biggest identity fraud in history. And the other problem that we have is we don't know who the enemy is. And the fact is we are in a war. And I would love to be able to tell you when this war started, but I'm not really sure. I've traced it back to well before, a a lot longer ago than what you can imagine. Not just 6,400 years ago, but more than 50,000 years ago. We're going to get into that because you're involved in this war whether you like it or not. And they're trying to genocide us. And in 1936, that's when our kind were at our peak. And we were 30% of the world's population at that time. Well, in 2006, we were down to less than 6%. So the enemy's been effectively genociding us for a long time. Why is the enemy going after us? The enemy's going after us because we're the only ones with the capacity to deal with them. And we were given this planet in order to run it for the benefit of everyone. And we weren't designed to do it alone. We were meant to do it with our Creator Father. So we're going to get into all of that by going through the Bible. I need you to buy the Bible and start reading it on your own. I was amazed at the writing level of our founding fathers. They were brilliant. I'm not able to write at the level they wrote at, and I have a doctorate, 5 degrees. If you want to know what intelligence looks like, go read the writings of the founding fathers. You will be amazed at the clarity with which they wrote. It was very masterful. They all were educated on the Bible. All of Western civilization is built upon the Bible. Western civilization is under attack. Now, Barack Hussein Obama, President Obama, actually said some very wise things. He was very smart about some things. And one of the things he said is the people in the middle of the country cling to your guns and your Bibles. Yes, people in the middle of the country do that more than people on the coast. But you need to understand that of the two, the Bible is far more dangerous, and it will make you more effective in defending yourselves than a gun will. You have to be able to think clearly. You have to be able to understand the foundations of Western civilization. You have to be able to identify who the bad guys are. And you have to know who you are. I'm going to tell you this right now. The bad guys know who they are, and they know who we are. They also know the Bible better than we do, and they're using it against us. So I need to bring you up to speed. Yeah, I'm late to the party. I've been waiting a long time. I've been sitting on my butt reading the Bible pretty much nonstop for 15 years. I've been through the King James Bible. I've looked at some other versions of the Bible. And in case you're wondering, what is the best version of the Bible? The answer is very clear. It's the one you read. Whatever version of the Bible that you are inclined to read, that's the best version of the Bible for you. And you need to read that. I don't care which version it is. You'll graduate eventually to other versions. But you need to push in. And now, don't read it for the religion. Read it as a history book. And I have an older brother who says it's a history law book. Now I like that. I embrace that. Because if we learn from this book and abide by and behave according to it, we're going to do very well. And if we turn to our Creator Father in heaven, we can beat these bad guys. And right now the bad guys are wreaking havoc again across the entire planet. And we're going to be going over the Bible and reading it and taking our time, and I will be communicating with you as often as I can. This is what it's going to be like. This is my headset. I just got it in. I got a new phone. The old phone was 9 years old and it was still working. So I've got a new one. Had to get a new headset because the phone is strictly Bluetooth. I'm on the cheap. I live on the cheap. I don't have much of a budget. I'm very highly motivated to get to my job and get onto my mission. My mission is to rear you up and to help you. And I'm especially interested in reaching out to you young men and young women. And we're going to be talking about some really sensitive matters, including the latest in the literature, things that are suppressed, knowledge that you need to have in order to be able to function, knowledge you need to have in order to be able to make the best decisions for you. Now, the Bible speaks to each one of us differently. when you read the Bible, you're going to be pulling for things that I don't get. Okay? The Spirit is going to be opening up to you. And the more you read that Bible, the closer you're going to be. You're going to understand the mind of God. And you need to understand that. And we're also going to be talking about what God is, what the Word means. In the proper name version of the King James Bible, we've got the personal name of God. It's Yahweh. We also have the name of the Messiah. That's Yeshua. He wasn't called the Christ in the original books. Certainly, Yahweh wasn't called God in the original language. It was Ptolemy II in Alexandria, Egypt, in approximately 275 BC. He was translating the Bible from Hebrew into Greek, and he eliminated the name Yahweh and put in the name God. And that's been a pitfall for all of us. Now, a lot of you people are hung up on the name of Jesus. I got news for you. There is a Jesus in the Bible, but it's not the Christ. His name was quite a bit different. The name Jesus doesn't even have salvation in the meaning of its name, whereas Yahshua means he who saves the anointed. We're going to be covering all kinds of definitions in the old book. I'm not a Bible scholar. I'm just a Bible reader with 15 years under my belt. I've read it a little bit more than a dozen times. I'm working with this publisher to produce a study Bible, if you will, and it will be a parallel translation with the King James, a decent version of the King James version on the left side and the proper name version on the right side. And that will open up our scholarship to using all the other concordances and all of the other studies that have been done beforehand. And it will allow you to do a word-by-word comparison between the two. I've also asked him to produce an Apocrypha, a very important book. There are 36 books referred to in the Bible that are not in the Bible. I don't think we have all of them available to us, but I would love to see them available. You'll find that everything has something to contribute. So go to my blog, givingpsychologyaway.com, and hit that tab and buy yourself a Bible while they're only $45 delivered. They're never going to be this cheap again. And the competitors charge much more than $100 for a leather-bound large print copy. So this is a leatherette bound, and these are not going to be the easiest things to get in the future, so buy them now as transportation slows down because of these wars, these incursions, rather, because of all of that. We're going to find that getting them printed and getting them delivered is going to be getting a little bit rougher. I'm just afraid to say that. What I'd like to tell you is, as far as my name goes, most people call me John. Some of my friends call me Doc. I go by Doc Kent, and that was from capital D, capital O, capital C, Kent. And that was for the Department of Corrections. The Arizona Department of Corrections is a very corrupt outfit, and it needs to be straightened up. But there's no whistleblower law in the state of Arizona, and there's also no reward. I'd love to get a 10% reward on that thing, because we're talking about $1 million a year that goes off the books. $100,000 is a nice reward. Now, I'm in a humble RV. It's an older RV. I like it quite a bit, but I'd like to have a house. The Kents had an estate on the Great Bay. Ansel Adams, who you've all heard of. Ansel Adams was our neighbor. We actually sold him that point, which is now known as Adams Point. The university has that land. University of Southern New Hampshire, I believe, has that land right now. I want it back. I'm going to be telling you about your property rights originally, as they were set about in the colonies and as they were in the early days of this country, because we have to restore that. We're going to be covering the amendments, which ones are legal and really the law of the land, and which ones aren't. We're going to be going into the frauds that have occurred, and we're going to do our best. Now, keep in mind that I want to lift all boats with this. So if you're, wherever you are, however you want to identify yourself, you're welcome to this channel. Just, you're going to hear some things that are going to flabbergast you, and we are going to talk about the old language and the old ways, and we're going to have to talk about different perspectives. A perspective is valid when it's useful, and perspectives can be quite a bit different. We're going to talk about truth and the nature of truth, and the ability to hold two seemingly contradictory ideas loosely in your mind at the same time and making them equally valid. We have to be careful with those things because quite often they lead to what I call sloppy thinking, loose thinking, liberal thinking. I've had a lot of time on this planet. I've got a mission, and that is to get this Bible out there as best I can and to get all of you reading it and understanding it. I think some of you are going to take off with it and really open things up for the rest of us, including me. I look forward to learning more. I'm an old man, sure, but I like to learn, and I'd love to be corrected if I'm wrong. Just do it kindly and gently and respectfully, and we'll do fine. I don't know how I come across anymore. I've aged quite a bit. I don't look anything like my other pictures. You're seeing me. This is the public persona that's going to be out there from here forward. I do want to tell you about me. I want to tell you about mental health. I want to tell you about mental illness. I want to tell you what to do to straighten things out. I want to tell you about the family and how important that is. I want to tell you about the actual original sin. And it's not what you think, and it may not be what I think, but I'm going to share my ideas with you, and you can be the judge of it and call that shot for yourself. Again, the proper name version of the King James Bible is the best version of the Bible in the English language. It needs to be translated in other languages, and we need to get this out there. Because, I mean, if you're going to worship your Creator Father in heaven, wouldn't you want to know his name? Oh, and one tip, that in the King James Version of the Bible, they slipped up and put in the short nickname for Yahweh in the book of Psalms. It's capital A, capital Y, capital A, capital H. Yah. Yah. Germans should love that because Yah means yes. And the Germans are the descendants, the Germanic peoples are the descendants of the tribe of Judah. Judah is supposed to carry the scepter until the time the Messiah returns. When the Holy Roman, the Catholic Church wanted an emperor, they always got a German. There was good reason for that. They were the best warriors. Now I need you to understand something. We were manipulated in World War I and World War II to go after the Germans. And we were manipulated by the imposters, by the identity thieves. And they are in the Bible. They're really well exposed. The basis for it is hands down. You're going to know it. You're going to see the evidence yourself. Folks, I've been reading the Bible for a while. I backed off a bit recently. There's nothing that gives me more joy than to talk about this. As I joke and say, I get a lot of dates this way talking about this. It doesn't go over very well. The ladies have had a problem with the perspective which I have come through. I have a new perspective now on the original sin, and I think that can put to rest this tendency to blame. The tendency for Eves to blame Adams and Adams to blame Eve. That has to be set aside. We have to be able to restore the family and work as teams. We're really not meant to do it alone. I'm alone. Never married. Had no children. Still open to it, even at this age. It's an advanced age, too. But if Yahweh wants it, well, he'll provide it. You know, it's a military brat, an army brat. Like they say, you know, if if the army would have wanted you to have a wife, they would have issued you one. Well, I'll say that about Yahweh. He would issue one. I'm going to do my best to give you ladies out there the best information I can, because not many men are pulling for you these days. So I'm going to reach inside of myself as deeply as I can and pull out as much compassion as I can to tell you gently what's going on and where you're at, and give you the information. It's always going to be up to you what you choose to do. But right now you don't have good data. You don't know what you're doing. Well, some of you do, and you just don't care. Well, I hope at this point you might start to care and value yourself more and take care of yourself. You're all very precious. Goodbye.